That's probably good. The last conference that I presented at, I forgot until about like 20 minutes in. I'm like, oh man, I was supposed to record this.
I feel like that's every meeting I'm supposed to record. Good morning to another Margaret. I love it. It was fun. The two of you in the waiting room first were Maggie and Margaret. I don't ever see other Margarets, and to have three of us is kind of amazing. I'm assuming Maggie is also another Margaret, but maybe not. Maybe that's
yes, I am a Margaret.
All right.
There we go.
All right, let's see. I can't believe we're already at December 9th. I mean, the start, like August, September of all this felt a little sluggish, maybe just because of how new everything was in the classroom and in schools in general, but now it's just flying. It's wild.
I agree. The fact that it's, 2 weeks before the holiday break?
Right. Well, my long-term sub had just texted me this morning and had said, I can't believe there's only like one more week left. I was like, one? Where did all this time go?
I have been in with Miss Hudson a few times.
Nice. Everything going smooth?
Yep. Just playing with zip files and stuff. And other little goodies, just little tips and tricks to help get things. But she definitely seems comfy with the history side of things and is getting increasingly comfy with the tech side. That is kind of not an option in our current age.
Yeah, I was very excited whenever she said she'd be willing to cover for me. So, Pat, what is the painting behind you? I figure we'll just do a bunch of very small. Wait.
I honestly can't tell you 100%, but it was my grandfather's, and we really liked it. So when he passed about a year ago, we actually brought it back as a kind of a memory and something that we liked. And we have that and 2 or 3 other pieces throughout the house to help keep the memories there.
Very fancy. I like it.
It might be a little old school.
I like the gold frame too. I think that is pretty awesome.
Pops.
Yes. Hey, Karen. I was thinking about making it putting it on a Wakelet collection, the thread from last night, but I haven't done it yet. So I will when I'm done here, I think. I was tweeting during Catlin Tucker's presentation last night. So lots of snippets of the images and trying to share. So I appreciated that. There was one image I was really looking for that I missed, and I found it. It's the power of our great collective network. She did a nice job.
Yeah, she presented that for us in our school district. We had her come in last week, and it was really good.
All right, we're going to get started in just about a minute. So I just want to draw your attention to the protocols for the Zoom session. You'll see this in the beginning of each of your sessions throughout the conference. So most important, I think, is raising your hand to be recognized or placing your questions in the chat. I think we'd be pretty spacious if we were at Roanoke too. Have lots of comfortable seating.
Yeah.
We'd be fussing with the microphones probably.
Seating is very comfortable.
All right. So welcome to our very first session. We're really excited to have both Phil and Patrick here. I want to stop sharing. And then they're going to kick us off, and we will have a good half hour. And I'll pop in with a warning when we get to the 5-minute mark, just so that everybody knows.
All right, great. Well, thank you, Margaret. Really appreciate that introduction. And thank you to everybody for deciding that at 8 a.m., hey, you know, we'll go to a virtual conference session with these two guys. Pat and I really appreciate it. We're going to go ahead and get ready to share something with you that we are very excited about, and it's called Apps Days. We're going to encourage you to check out the bit.ly there at the bottom of the slide presentation. It'll also be embedded at a lot of different places throughout the slide deck as well for you to be able to check out. And whenever Pat is ready, we can go ahead and we can start with some basic introductions of the two of us. Oh, and it looks like he's ready now. Perfect. My name is Phil Strunk. I am a history teacher in Clark County, and that is very, very far north of, or very, very far north of Virginia. Basically, you know, West Virginia is our northern border. And I've been teaching since 2016. Before that, I was a college student. And right now I am doing this all from home because November 7th, I became a daddy to my son Ezekiel. And so he and mommy are upstairs, and thankfully he is sleeping, which I'm very grateful for right now this morning. But really looking forward to sharing these this various resource with, or this vast resource with you. Pat, go ahead.
And I am Patrick Hausman. There's a variety of touch points there. As far as email is phausedu@gmail.com, at phausedu on Twitter, and to keep everything in line, phausedu.com. And if you go to the resource tab there, you'll find this slide deck as well as all the others that I've done. And you also will note that UnisonEDU.org is on there as well. That is a nonprofit that I founded as part of my Google Innovator project to help schools in need of great PD that maybe don't have the resources, whether that be money or people. We can come in and help out, and we have a number of our awesome team members on the call with us today. Our awesome moderator is a member. Phil is also a team member of UnisonEDU, so more information there if you want it, and a range of badges on the screen for you, really for the biggest purpose of, if you see anything on there that you're thinking about or that you've heard of and you want to go towards, reach out anytime. I'm more than happy to walk you through the steps I took to get to different places. And you can also tell by the badges on the screen that I don't believe in free time. So I go for stuff whenever I can.
It's very true. We have many conversations about Pat needing to take some time to smell the roses, but I guess he's not a flower guy. So So let's go ahead and spend some time diving into what exactly is Apps Day. It was about 3, maybe 4 years ago, or yeah, probably about 4 years ago that we got the news. We got an email from our superintendent, and I was very excited because I was no longer going to have to fight with the math and English department about being able to use the computer lab. Because that email said that Clark County was going to go 1-to-1. Every student was going to have a Chromebook. And I was very excited about this opportunity to be able to find new ways to innovate with students, create a lot of really, really exceptional learning opportunities with them. But I was also thinking and reflecting, and I kind of came to a point where I thought, you know, I want to make sure that my students understand how to use this technology and use it well. And so this comes from the school of thought of like the first day of school with Harry Wong. And so I wanted to find a way to build in routines. And so I started to develop this hyperdoc that talked about the various essential apps for students. As I was developing it, I realized this is going to be a beast to go through. And so I contacted Pat, who's our school's ITRT, and he very graciously and agreed to help me out. And as you heard him say, he does not like free time. And so he even offered to help co-teach it with me. And we've done it for several years now, including this year whenever we were virtual. So it's been a really excellent opportunity to work with students, and it helps both Pat and I get to know students better. I think it's pretty powerful that I've had middle school students say, hey, when is Mr. Hausman coming back? I don't know how frequently you get to hear that from students asking about a certain class visitor, which I love.
And one thing I'll add in on this slide, you'll notice there's a slight discoloration as part of it, and you may find something else. There's a couple Easter eggs hidden throughout the slide deck. The letters will be a little tougher, but they may form some words at some point that could be a clue. You can reach out to me on social media, or you can email, or if you happen to discover all of the things before we end today, you can chuck it in the chat. And also in the chat, I missed it before, but I meant to ask everybody that's on with us today, if you haven't already, I know it's a normal thing at the beginning of meetings, go ahead and tuck in the chat where you're from and what you do. And we'll make sure as we come around towards the end, we'll leave some time for Q&A, and it'll give us a good sense of what you do so we can hopefully customize some of our answers. And to briefly tiptoe into HyperDocs, and I know we're at a tech conference and HyperDocs are definitely not necessarily a new thing. So I'm going to briefly overview a little bit on HyperDocs, and then we're going to keep rolling right on through. There is a slide deck linked in, and I'm going to close some of my bonus tabs here because we don't need all of these. But if you need it, there is a slide deck linked in that's going to go into a bunch of detail on HyperDocs. I won't go into that now, but know there are a bunch of examples in there as well. But I did want to touch on this really kind of the original template that I saw when I started tiptoeing into HyperDocs. And the main point that I wanted to make is HyperDocs is very much not just a page with links. If it's done correctly, it is meant to have strategic sections that really push the students into some deeper learning. It's meant to start with that engage section to kind of pull them in, or as I remember from undergrad, that hook that gets those students really into the lesson. Then some curated resources to help them explore. Again, customized by the teacher, so you know they're going through the different things you really want them to see. Then you're going into that explain section where you're going to tell them what are the objectives, what are we trying to eventually get to. Then how are they going to actually apply that? What is the thing that they're going to create that is going to show you some level of mastery of that learning? And then as we get down towards the bottom part, a lot of these are just as powerful for me. Then one of those is going to be the share aspect. How much of an audience can you give the students? Are they locked into just the classroom? Can they share it out beyond the classroom to the school? Could it go out on social media so they get a really wide audience for feedback? Then you go into the reflection piece, which I know is a big deal for my counterpart as it is for me. Reflection is huge for those students to think about not only what they created and does it really show their mastery, but also the process to get there. How well did it work going through the tools? Were the directions and things on the instruction side, were they good? So it's a place for twofold feedback or two-way feedback for the instructor to get some feedback, but as well as hearing from those students and seeing how it went for them. And last but not least, you have that extension piece that's going to give another structured activity or even a challenge of some sort to those students to keep that learning going forward and keep driving into maybe your next topic, maybe something enrichment or something to really nail home what they just learned. But the biggest thing to remember, if you get a question about it or if you're looking to dive into it, your HyperDoc is distinctly meant to not just be a collection of links. It is meant to be kind of a dynamic learning experience that the students will go through. And that very quickly, Phil, did I miss anything on the kind of run through as far as HyperDocs that you can think of?
I think you hit the overall gist of it. And again, if you need any additional support with it, you can always contact Pat and myself. Pat linked in one of his former presentations that he has done on it. We love to load our participants up with a lot of free goodies whenever it comes to the various resources. So please take advantage of that if you are somebody that is looking for additional HyperDoc support. So let's look at Apps Days specifically. I said that the point behind this was to develop ed tech routines for students, and not only to develop those ed tech routines with students, but to also forge strong relationships with them as well. And so I spent some time thinking about what are going to be just 4 apps. I'm not trying to overwhelm them and give them like 20 different apps that we're going to use throughout the course of the year. Instead, let's just take the base 4 and make sure they are really, really good with them. So for us, we went through Flipgrid, which has been an excellent app. If you haven't used it before, highly recommend. I imagine many of these apps, though, if you are at this conference, you've probably at least heard of, if not used. Flipgrid's been a great way to enhance student voice. They are very receptive to ideas and feedback. They are constantly evolving. I like that. Powtoon, it's funny, once you start using it, you start to realize how frequently you see it on like TV and other places. Great way to create fun, professional cartoon videos. Companies like Costco, Coca-Cola, and others use them for their commercials sometimes. Screencastify is, I call it the ultimate sub plan, but it allows for really easy screen recording and webcam recording too, if you want to embed that. And then finally, Canva, my favorite app of all time. It makes somebody that, you know, I feel like, I don't know, I feel like my son, if I were to put a pencil in his hand and say, you know, let's try to draw with this. It makes me feel like an artist, though, that it helps me come over that. And I see right here, yeah, Katie's loving Canva too. It is an all-time favorite of mine. So these 4 apps, I figure if we get those 4 down, my students will be primed for success in U.S. history too, and hopefully they'll be able to extend this out as well.
And I'll just jump in and add in one thing on the page here. For Canva, if you have used it and you don't know, make sure you do a quick Google search for Canva for Education, because there is an education side that'll get you as an educator premium for free. So if you didn't know that, hopefully that is at least one other great thing you'll get out of this session, that you can get Canva premium free. So definitely check that out.
So let's go ahead and let's dive into a few of the different samples that we have from students. Now, I probably could have asked them, hey, can you build me a Powtoon about the Reconstruction amendments, or can you use Canva to teach us about, you know, the election of 1896? But if I were to ask them to do that the first week in August, that just seems like cruel and unusual punishment. So instead, I base all of these things around building student relationships. And so as you see this example Powtoon playing here, this Powtoon I asked them to build a Powtoon after they went through tutorials to tell me something they're really excited about for this upcoming school year and something they're really nervous about. This is a great way for me to be able to just watch a quick video and get to learn a little bit more about them. It's a way for them to practice using Powtoon and maybe even to do some of their own self-reflection as they prepare for the upcoming year ahead.
And I was smart this time because it has bitten us before. Powtoon can take a little bit of time to load. So if you're ever going to do an example in a presentation, preload it beforehand so that it doesn't load for days while you're trying to present.
Yeah. Canva is great. I just asked them to make stuff about their interests. This one student on the left likes piano, likes Xbox and other video games. So while I'm walking around the classroom, while Pat is walking around the classroom in a year that isn't stymied by a pandemic, we're able to have some quick conversations with them about the things they've done. In a virtual setting, we have Google Classroom, so we're able to look at some of the things that students are working on. In this case, Canva is an outside resource, so we aren't, but we're able to find some ways to leave comments in docs as they complete stuff and able to say, hey, you know, I saw that you like the Washington Capitals. You know, I'm from Philadelphia originally, so I guess that makes me a Flyers fan. Or I see that you're a Clemson fan. I'm a Penn State fan. I'm pretty disappointed in Penn State this season, but hey, Clemson's looking pretty good this year. But just being able to build these little conversations in. It's funny, 2 years ago, I had a student, and you know, I think that we all at some point or not get a little a message from our colleagues or from a colleague that says, oh, watch out for student X. I had student X that year, and I spoke to one of my other teacher friends that I really trusted, and she said, you know, you just got to make a connection with him early. So I made sure during apps days, I went over and I looked at what his Canva was, and I saw that he liked basketball. I said, hey, you like basketball? Oh man, like who do you like? Do you like the Warriors? Do you like the Wizards, Sixers, Heat? We were able to have that conversation all year. He and I never had a problem. He was one of my, I mean, I think I'm allowed to say this. He was one of my favorite kids that year. So definitely had a blast. And it's powerful what a relationship can do, not only in classroom management, but just in relationship forming and being able to bring out the best in that student into not only your classroom setting, but hopefully into the school setting as well. So we love giving away stuff for free, like we said. Right here is your own copy of Apps Days. And so if you have the bit.ly open and you want to click on it, you can either click on the meme. I'm a lover of memes. I put them on my teacher Instagram all the time. And you can go ahead and open that up. Feel free to make a copy, steal away. We highly encourage it. We may not necessarily teach like pirates, but we definitely act like them sometimes. And so please feel free to borrow and use away.
And that link, once you click on it, should get you to this, and it gives you the ability to kind of preview it. And Phil, we'll kind of do a run through here real quickly of what you're seeing. But if it looks like something you could use, you could adapt and use in your own, just hit the use template at the top, and that'll go ahead and add it into your drive. But as we looked at the HyperDoc thing towards the beginning of the session, just the brief overview, you can see the kind of eye-catching thing, or the hook in this one is the video from Apple that we're not going to play right now, but it is linked into the slide deck. But it is the Apple homework commercial that really primes the students to think about homework in a different way, and hopefully try and spur some of that creativity as they're getting ready to play with some of these apps, and just give them a different spin and make them maybe feel like, oh, I can have some fun with this. This isn't just a normal thing where I'm typing an essay, I'm doing something. It's meant to prime them kind of on that creative side, but also on the let's think a little differently about things as we go through. And you can see the HyperDoc does not have to follow that model. If you're new to HyperDocs, that example that I showed before, obviously this looks completely different, but we tried to kind of over structure this one so that it was very easy for the students to follow. We tell them start on the left side. That's going to give you the directions. That's going to give you any kind of tutorial you might need. Look at the box on the left, then go to the box on the right. Those are the things to complete. As you scroll down, look at the box on the left, make sure you complete the things on the box on the right. And you'll see different things as we kind of scroll down through. Obviously, there's a Flipgrid link, but we also are telling the students, because Flipgrid's an outside thing, we could have them mark it as complete in classroom, but Phil wants them to type done in the box so that he knows they're done. So you can think in Apps Days also of some different procedural things. How do you want students to be turning things in as the year goes? Start those things off now. So not only are you building those relationships while on the backside mastering some of these tech tools you're going to use, but you're also then building in some of those foundational pieces, those procedures that are going to help your class run smoothly as well.
Yeah, it really saves a lot of time. Students love the fact that they can just move on from one thing to the next, so they can jump all around the HyperDoc. That's really encouraged. Pat, I love that he says it every year to the kids. We want you to press all the buttons. You know, not too frequently do students hear that. And so whenever we're able to express and share that freedom with them, it's a very rewarding experience for them, I think. Now, I don't know if it's blasphemous for us to play an Apple commercial at the start of a Google-based or a various app-based activity, but we certainly hope that we certainly hope they don't mind too much.
Yeah, and one thing I'll point out here too is it's getting more and more frequent, but one thing you want to keep in mind with something like this too is your students may well not have had a ton of freedom in their lessons before this. So giving them something completely kind of meant to be student-paced and work through on their own, we definitely have to remind them off and on, like, you don't have to wait for us. If you're done, you've marked it done, you're good, keep rolling on through. And then I also try and kick it up a notch, like Phil said, and I challenge them to find different things I haven't found yet. Because when I roll in, they see me as a tech guy that knows everything. So I tell them, poke every button, go down every rabbit hole, try and find something I've never seen before. Show me something that you don't think I could match or something I could create. Because we really want them to feel out all those little bits and pieces as they go through.
Yeah. And now I teach 7th and 8th grade this year, but some of my 8th graders I taught in 6th and 7th grade. So this is their 3rd time with me. I still have them do apps days every year because, as we know, technology is constantly updating. Different features are being added. And so I want them to be able to go in and find those different features to make sure that they can use them. One app, for example, Powtoon, made it a whole lot easier to learn how to share or export their videos. Flipgrid has a bunch of different features regarding, like, they even have text commenting and things like that now. So I want to make sure they know how to use those things. And so they'll be like, oh, do I need to do that again, Mr. Strunk? I said, yeah, you know, apps change and I want you to do that too. If they finish, there's an additional activity, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
And actually,
all right, yeah, I guess since we're not showing the video
next
without
up.
that. I'm sure many of you know this feeling where you plan something and you think, wow, this is going to be great. It's going to take, you know, we have block scheduling, so 86 minutes. It's going to take 2 86-minute blocks. And then you have a student that comes up to you and after like 60 minutes in the first day says, oh, hey, I'm all done. And you look at that activity and you're like, wow, yeah, I mean, you really mastered it. You really nailed it here. Great job. But then you're left thinking, what am I going to have them work on next? Well, I decided to create a second hyperdoc, this one called GSuite. And I love suites and I love Google. And so even though it's not the right spelling, it's the right spelling for me. This has been a phenomenal enrichment task. You can click on where it says get your copy and open up your own copy of Mr. Strunk's GSuite hyperdoc. This is just like Apps Days, but it focuses specifically on the Google apps, so Docs, Slides, and others. This has been a great way for students that finish things early to learn how to do things like, oh, make sure you always have a title on it. Don't forget about that. You know, don't turn in something that says Untitled, because then you will never find it again in your Google Drive. It goes where, you know, your missing sock goes. It just disappears. So it's important to learn those skills. My first year, I think maybe 1 or 2 kids got to GSuite. As time moved on and as Pat and I improved Apps Days and improved its rollout, most of the kids actually get done GSuite as well. It's been awesome to not have kids asking me, you know, Mr. Strunk, how do I make a slide deck in Google Slides? Mr. Strunk, how do I, you know, change the font in Google Docs? Because they already know how to do it now. Pat, anything you want to add to GSuite?
Yeah. I'll just say that just like we talked about in the other ones, this is one of the few times where the students get something assigned to them in Google where they're again encouraged to poke all the buttons. We distinctly show them where the add more fonts thing is and how to get different themes, things like Slides Carnival, Slides Mania for templates, things like that, where we're encouraging you maybe for the first time, which is a sad thing, but maybe for the first time to literally try everything. Give us the funkiest fonts that you can possibly find and have fun exploring all the different pieces, because we want them to see technology definitely as a tool, but something that can really enhance what they're doing and hopefully have some fun while they're doing it, all the while still building some of those relationships with what they're creating.
Yeah. I see a great question in the chat asking about what age do we use this with? We typically use this with students 6th through 8th grade. However, we've also worked with an elementary school teacher and have been able to work out a version of Apps Days, whereas instead of them using 4 apps, they used 1 essential app, and we're able to do that with great success. And it's kind of a hope of Pat and I that we can eventually make something like this division wide. That way, every year we're building student capacity and they're having an opportunity to explore more apps and get even more well-versed in ed technology, making their education experience a little better.
Absolutely. And I'll say that was a 3rd grade classroom, and that teacher had since moved around a little bit. So it's actually been used down as far as 2nd grade. But again, we take that focus from multiple tools down to 1, and then we have essentially multiple Apps Days. So in Phil's class with the middle school kids, we did 4 at once, and that's the main 4 they're going to use. When we brought it down to the elementary, we did, because they were fairly new to it that year, we did like Google Classroom. Then in a little bit, we did Flipgrid, because they knew Flipgrid had a bunch of features that they could use more and more. And the teacher distinctly really liked Flipgrid, oddly enough, for math, because we could bring in that immersive reader to read the word problems to the kids. And of course, Flipgrid now has the whiteboard. So it is an awesome thing especially with the screen recorder now too, where you can literally see the students thinking as they're doing things. So what we did was really strategically choose just a few apps and then introduce them one by one. So it can definitely be brought down. You just adapt as you normally would and differentiate for the kids at the different levels.
Well, it looks like we only have about 5 minutes left here, and I see Margaret nodding her head. And so we're going to try to just sort of speed through the rest of this from here, because we do want to give time at the end if you do have questions. We'll look real quick at micro-credentialing. We were thinking about what's another way to amplify this and make this even better. And so we decided to make some stickers for it because, you know, everybody loves stickers. And so as you can look at them here, Pat used Google Drawings, one of the apps that students learn to use through this, to create the stickers for students. Whenever they finish, they get a sticker and they can put it right on their Chromebook, because
and
our
if
school.
you click
Yeah, go
on
ahead,
either
Pat.
one of those, it is going to link you to the Google Drawings template. And we went the cheap route. We just got Avery templates and printed them out of our printer. So we did not do a ton of money by any means to get to that point. So don't think that the micro-credentialing cost much. I think Phil said it was what, about $10 or so
Maybe.
for the stickers templates and
Maybe.
of course some printer ink.
Yeah. So really pretty cheap. And the nice thing, and as we jump into reflections here, the nice thing about the micro-credentialing is whenever they put that sticker on their Chromebook, whenever they go to other classes, other teachers know, oh, hey, you know how to use these apps because you've had Mr. Strunk before and he has taught you about these different things. So you should be set to go. It's been awesome not having to reteach everything throughout the year. Sometimes I have to give like a quick reminder, a quick refresher on like a more vague feature of one of the apps, but it's not like I'm going in and spending an hour teaching an app. It's like I'm spending 5 minutes just reminding them of something. And Pat, you want to go over the last bit that we have under reflections?
Yeah, and I'll actually kind of tie it right into this next slide too, as far as one of the big things was we really tried to stress to students it didn't have to be perfect. Again, we started this really close, basically the second day Phil has students, we start this. So we wanted to stress to them, it's really a time to play and learn and give us some information to build those relationships. But we don't really care about typos. We don't care if your image is straight in the center. We don't care if you have 5 different fonts on the slides. You're supposed to play with it. That's what we want to see, is that you're learning and having fun with it. And then going into some tips and considerations, again, encourage them to push all the buttons. Think about what rules, what procedures you can build in. Think about teaching them things about what a freemium tool is, because Powtoon and Canva are not necessarily free. So teach them what some of those terms might mean that can kind of pay it forward as you go throughout. Can you use a teaser for content? Can you include some part into apps days that might bring the parents in? So when they go home, maybe they have to do something with their parents, because a lot of times we forget about the parents as far as somebody that might be very well learning things for the first time as well. So maybe we loop them in to some of the things so they can learn some of those apps as well. And traditionally, when we do this for an hour, we try and get done with at least 20 or so minutes at the end for workshop time. And I know we don't have anywhere near that now, but I do want to show this slide that has a bunch of different tools you might think about including. Each one of them is linked to the website. You can always reach out to me or Phil with any kind of questions on any of the ones you see. And I'm going to leave it here on this slide and then stop sharing, go back for questions in the last few minutes. But if you have some tools you really love, if you click on the share tools you love here, that'll take you to a Jamboard where you can just add in a sticky note. You can use text if you want. You could use an image, but let's have a little collaborative space where we can pay it forward to everybody that's on the call, and we'll leave this linked in for the future as well. But throw some tools in there you really love, and we thank you guys for coming. We know it was fast, but we wanted to get you all the info we could.
Fast and furious. I like it. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. That's what we're here for. I see we have 1 minute left before the magic time is up. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess. So hopefully this hasn't been a drag for you.
Did we have any questions really pop up that we want to hit here before people head out? I see a number of thanks. Oh, and I see a broken heart next to a Penn State. I
know.
agree. That probably came up early. Yeah, it's been tough. But hey, they got 2 wins now, so at least the first number's not a 0 anymore.
I'll take it. Pat, are you gonna add the Bitly to the schedule?
Yes,
Or do you
I will get it as soon as we conclude here, and I actually meant to do it before, but I got a line from our superintendent, so that jumped precedent slightly.
I guess so.
But it will definitely be there.
All right. Well, hey folks, it's 8:30. Margaret, you want to go ahead and wrap us up?
Yes, thank you everyone for attending, and thanks to Phil and Pat for this great presentation. Please consider continuing the conversation in Discord. I put a link in the chat there. If you have not yet joined the Discord server, that invite will get you there. You'll find a room set up for Washington, and inside of there, we can continue this conversation and find others who are still talking about all the great things we've learned. We'll see you in your next sessions. Noontime is the next round of sessions. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.